Something happened to me 1991, about 2.5 decades ago, and it stays with me to this very day. I was sitting around one morning and I woke up and I had this Bible quote in my head. It's one that probably a lot of people have read over the years and never gave it a second thought, but in Hebrews 13:2, there's a quote that says, "Be not forgetful to entertain strangers, for thereby some have entertained angels unaware." Kind of an odd thing to read, but kind of put in my mind that maybe I was going to meet a stranger. Maybe they were waiting for me. I didn't know when, where, how come. So the next day I'm at the local bookstore and I'm walking through there and randomly go to this one table that has books on sale real cheap, and they're all piled up. And I reached down below, there was a stack, and I just grabbed one at random to see what it was. And the book, when I opened it up, it was a book on astrology or something, which I don't normally ever read. But the page I turned to, there was the quote from Hebrews 13:2 about entertaining strangers. I go, whoa, okay. And the next day, I'm at the doctor's office, and the doctor's office has a stack of old magazines, and I randomly go through the pile and I pick up a guidepost magazine. And the page I turned to, first page I turned to, there's Hebrews 13:2. Be not forgetful to entertain strangers. And I'm going, okay, the universe is giving me a message, and I need to be alert. Somebody's waiting for me. I need to help somebody. I need to do something. So a few days later, I'm at work, and middle of the afternoon, and still got a couple hours to go, and I decide I got to leave. I got somebody waiting for me. And so I just told my boss and everybody there, I'm leaving work. I didn't tell people I was going home sick, I was going on leave. I just said, I'm leaving. And nobody even questioned it, which I thought was strange. I got up and I left work. And I'm driving down Highway 99 heading towards my town of Elk Grove. And I get this feeling stronger and stronger and stronger. And it's raining outside. I got my wipers on. And all of a sudden, as I get closer to home, alongside the road, there's this young man who later I learned is 22 years old, which would make him about 48 years old now as I tell this tale. And he's standing there in the rain. He's soaking wet. He's got a T-shirt on. He's got socks on his hands that he's using as gloves. He's got no hat, no jacket, and very few possessions. In fact, got nothing. So I go, whoa. This guy's in trouble. And he's on the side of the road where you shouldn't be hitchhiking. There's no access for a car. I pulled my pickup truck over, and he had to run about 100 yards, get to the vehicle. And when he got there, I could tell he was grungy and dirty and smelly. He'd been out on the road for a long time, and he was soaking wet. And he had kind of scruzzy hair on his face, kind of like in the Scooby-Doo cartoons, with that, whatever that kid's, Shaggy. And so I said, where are you going? He goes, well, I'm going to Texas. And I said, well, I'm not going to Texas. I'm just going down the road here a couple exits, but I'll get you a better spot. So he hops in the truck, and he smells, of course, and everything, and he's wet and damp. And I'm looking at him. He looks world beat. He looks depressed. He's on edge. He's having a rough time. So we get to the exit. I pull off, and I said, well, let's go to my house. We'll get something to eat, clean up and everything, and before I let you off. So I take him into my house. Of course, my family looks at me like, what are you bringing this bum into the house for? My family's very compassionate, but they're looking at me going, Dad, you're bringing in a stranger. So he gets in there, and he smells so bad, and his clothes are so terrible, dirty. But I said, you know what? Here's a guest shower. Here's a towel. We'll clean your clothes, have some fresh clothes for you. Shower, clean up. So he gets in and he showers. While he's showering, I go out in the garage, I get a backpack, camping backpack that I had, and I decided this guy doesn't have anything. So I filled it up with sweatshirts, socks, underwear, sweaters, a jacket, flashlight with batteries in it, some matches, little small camping equipment and stove, and things like that, because he had nothing. If he's going to be a bum on the road, you got to have the equipment to handle life. He had nothing. So I filled it up, and I put some food in there and some other stuff and comfort items. And when he came out, I gave him some fresh clothes that I had. So he had clean pants, gave him a shirt, gave him a jacket, and I gave him a Oakland Raiders ball cap. So he was all set. Then I gave him besides the backpack, I gave him a little bag, a little airport bag, and I put some more stuff in there for him. So he was going to leave. He had and in that airport bag, I put a raincoat since it was still raining out there. So he comes to sit at the table, and I didn't really have much elaborate food to give him, so I made a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and some milk, and he was eating there. And my daughter's watching, my wife, and he's really downtrodden, but he keeps staring at me. And he says, last night I had a strange experience. He says, I had a real life dream, and a guy that came and talked to me looked exactly like you do, wearing exactly those clothes. He says, I was out there in a field where he picked me up, and I had a sleeping bag, but it started raining. The bag got all soaking wet, had to throw it away. I was chilled. I was shaking. I was really thinking about, and he just kind of paused, and I knew what he was thinking. Life wasn't worth waiting to survive. He was in that suicidal mood. And so he went on about how he was desperate, and then this real life vision came. And I stopped him and I said, just a minute. And I opened up the drawer, and there was a pack of sugarless gum in there, used one. I picked it up and had it in my hand. I walked over to him and I said, now some people think I'm psychic. And when I give you this and put it in your hand, you will know that to be a fact. And I put it in his hands, and he got really teary-eyed and everything. He looked at it, and then he says, oh, the man in my real life dream did exactly that. He reached out and he gave me a pack of sugarless gum. And he said, and I stopped him, and I quoted, and he said, God loves you. You'll be okay. And then he broke down, because that's exactly what the man in his real life dream had told him. So we hugged, took care of him, we fed him, gave him some money, gave him some more food. But ultimately he had to leave. He was going to hitchhike to Texas to meet his stepfather that he hadn't seen in years. Apparently he was in foster care for a long time, and then when he got out of foster care, he ended up at his grandma's house on the West Coast, and she died on him, and he had absolutely no place to go. No money, no home. When he got in the truck, he was clean, he was joyous, he was feeling peace. He had changed, he had evolved. My encounter with a stranger changed his life, hopefully, but I know that that stranger changed my life forever.